Pickaxe.
Hello, and welcome back to the Review of Death, a Doctor Who podcast, your fortnightly home for Doctor Who news and reviews. I'm Matthew Toffolo, this is Billy Garrett-John, and we're here to talk about underrated episodes of Doctor Who.
We've done overrated.
Yeah.
We've gone over, now we're going under.
So, why don't you kick us off?
Shit. So
You said you got a big list.
So mine comprises of 14.
Fucking hell!
But I've highlighted the 5 that immediately came to mind.
Right.
But when I was going through episode lists, I thought, yeah, that needs a bit of a reappraisal.
Yeah, I mean,
think that needs a bit of love as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was the MO of the podcast when we restarted really, was... Should we acknowledge this being here as well?
Oh yeah, this is my lovely season 18 scarf. Audio listeners can only hear the
is
floof of it.
So soft.
It is the softest thing
ever.
Every time it comes out, my nephews were like, "Oh."
And it's the same material that Tom's was made of.
Yeah, so this is like an acrylic version. So it's not exactly the same, but it is as close as you can get, really,
and it's
without
like
breaking the bank.
It's hefty.
It's weighty, isn't it?
And Matt was saying before, like imagine that, and then the coat,
the
the waistcoat, and the shirt, and the boots.
You can
under
see why he
lights.
was like, "I'm not wearing the," because he had a jacket as well in the Leisure Hive. You can understand why he was like, "I'm not wearing that as well.
Anymore.
I'll just die."
Yeah, it is.
No wonder he lost weight.
Yeah, bloody yeah, it's gorgeous. It's really nice. So,
so this will go.
Big props, Annie.
Yeah, thank you very much, love. That will go up here. But
yeah,
for now,
it's going to replace the
Lavatsi one.
I've got a Lavatsi to set up in New Zealand for the New Zealand set.
Ah.
Not the red one, but the
and today, I mean,
one.
this won't date the video, but Rob Ritchie posted. He did a 3D render of the superannuation.
I saw that
console, and I thought, oh, because he had the video there as well, and I rewatched it obviously, and I thought, oh, when I go over to New Zealand to see Billy, I'll have to take this, and we'll have to go up to Mount.
And go, oh!
Titty Poo Poo, or whatever it's called.
What? It's, oh shit, what is it? I think it's Mount Eden.
Oh, okay.
There you go, so that's relatively easy to pronounce.
Sure.
Yeah.
Titty
Poo Poo. That's what you said, Titty Poo Poo.
When we go up Mount Nightmare of Eden, I'll wear that and go, oh yes!
Well, I'd love to. I mean, I've got some ideas for Who Zealand.
Oh.
A little thread where we can, talk about Doctor Who related things in NZ. Yeah. But that's the only location that I can visit. I can only go up Mount Eden. I could talk to a couple of people, but I can only really go up Mount Eden and go.
Yeah.
TARDIS was there. Tom went out.
Said,
and then,
oh yes.
Oh yes. And
like the Churchill dog.
Bob Mortimer.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Is
it still him?
I don't know now, but if you go back and watch the good
ones, when it was a proper puppet.
That's like Doctor Who fans going like, when it was the good old days. When the Churchill adverts were an actual puppet in the good old days.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same with everything. It's like Postman Pat and Fireman Sam and Thomas the Tank.
Postman Pat's got like a whole distribution centre and shit now. He's got a helicopter. Yeah.
Thinking hell, he's got better distribution than actual Royal Mail.
The actual Royal Mail. Get Postman Pat on the case. Okay, so yeah, I wrote down 14. And I might, sort of after we've done the 5, I'll go through.
Do your big 5.
I'll do my big 5. So, number 1, the moon base.
Love it.
Because, and I think we probably talked about it in the overrated one. I think Tomb of the Cybermen maybe came up.
Yeah.
And the moon base was like brought up as an equivalent to that.
Yeah.
And I agree. And I also think that the moon base animation is the best animation.
It's really good.
The best recon that we've got.
It's very, very good.
Of that original batch.
Yeah, very atmospheric.
Very atmospheric.
They really nailed it with that.
And I think it was was it the same people that did Reign of Terror, but they kind of pared back the rotoscoping and the weird cuts and stuff?
You can really see when you watch those back to back in the order in which they came out. They're really learning their craft as they go, and boy, did they get it right on the moon base.
It's, I mean, the moonwalk sequence itself.
Yeah.
In animated form.
Yeah. I was just thinking of when you said the moonwalk.
No. That sequence itself, I've shown that to people and gone, did you know that they did Doctor Who animated reconstructions? And they've watched that and gone, oh, that looks really cool.
Yeah.
And, it's 4 parts. And any episode that's based Under Siege with the Cybermen in black and white, and it's 4 parts, to me, is a winning combination.
It certainly is.
It's got Patrick Troughton.
Yeah.
Besides why don't you all make some coffee and we can, all right, Doctor, I'll go and be a good woman and go and make some coffee for everybody. Besides that, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
All the stuff with like them infecting the sugar and the virus.
Great.
The bodies under the tarpaulins and stuff.
Yeah.
Them, breaking in through the
hole,
service.
the
hole in the wall.
Yeah.
The gravitron.
Yeah.
It's just, it's set up really nicely. The moonwalk sequences as well. And it's the only Doctor Who story set on the moon that I think really kind of hits out. I mean, it doesn't have an abortion storyline to begin with, like, underlying the whole thing.
True.
But yeah, I think the moon base is fantastic.
And obviously those Cybermen look so good as well.
So good.
Because, obviously it's only their second appearance and they've gone, right, everything that didn't work with those original costumes, not that they didn't look good, because they look amazing, but obviously they were not practical at all, and they've refined it down to something which is equally very scary. I mean, I love those tomb suits. I mean, sometimes I think to myself, like, should I have bought a tomb suit?
People will say tomb suits.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's like, but they're not tomb Cybermen. They're moon-based Cybermen.
Correct. Oh, yeah.
So I guess it goes to show how much of a splash Tomb has made in fandom.
Yeah. And I guess it's because Moonbase was missing for the longest time.
True. Well, let's try and rectify that. Instead of saying Tomb Cybermen
Moonbase
on social media, let's say Moonbase Cybermen. Moon Cybes.
Moon Cybes. Mooning Cybermen.
Let's hear your first one.
So I'm going to skip forward to the new series.
Whoa, I didn't think there'd be any underrated stories from the new series that you bring up.
And I've gone with, and I don't know if I think it is underrated, Empress of Mars.
That was on my long list.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree.
Because I think people just sort of, when it came out, it just sort of went past people. No one really sort of it didn't make much of a splash. But when I watched it at the time, I thought, this is a Doctor Who story and I think this might be the reason why it didn't make much of a splash, is because it is a quintessential Doctor Who story. Because I think you could make that story with any Doctor in any era and it would be great.
I suppose the counterpoint to that is any modern TV reviewer who writes for The Guardian or writes for, whatever, The Independent or whatever, would watch that episode and go, I mean, it's nothing that hasn't happened in Doctor Who over the last 40 years.
Yeah.
So if you want to watch something that's kind of like, camp, silly Doctor Who, it's a pretty good one for that. But to us, that's our bread and butter.
Exactly.
And that's like, that is, to me, that is Doctor Who.
Yeah, and I know Cold War is also very good, but this is the first time the Ice Warriors get a proper sort of Ice Warrior story, because as good as Cold War is, it's
Dalek with an Ice Warrior.
Exactly. This is the first time when you get to see them properly. You get the new element of the female Ice Empress.
Yeah.
And then, there's a whole lot of lore there about their society and stuff that, Mark Gatiss loves all that kind of thing. And it's just great. And then you've got the weird sort of timey-wiminess of having Victorians in Mars, and it's a bit steampunky. It's just really good fun. It's Jules Verne does the Ice Warriors. Yeah. It's great. I really like it. And Peter Capaldi's excellent in it. He's just good. He's just Doctor Who in that story.
And shot across the road.
Shot across the road from where we are now.
In Redcliffe Caves under my sixth form.
Yeah.
So, I hope they cleared away all the counterfactuals and Johnnies and got them out of the way. Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, that was on my long list as well. A Cold War was also on my long list.
Yeah, I almost put that on there as well, and I thought, well, that's probably a bit too much. And I prefer Empress of Mars just ever so slightly more, because I think Cold War is probably people's favourite more, possibly. I don't know.
Because more people were watching Doctor Who then?
Probably, yeah.
Something to do with that.
Yeah.
Okay, my second choice, and it was actually the first one that came to mind when I thought of underrated stories, is Mind Warp.
Okay.
Now, I know it's difficult to sort of, you can't isolate it.
Yeah.
Because it's part of Trial of a Time Lord.
Yeah.
But when I did my rewatch of Trial of a Time Lord, before we did Pandorica talk about it, that was the one that really stuck out the most to me. Yeah. Because the ending is obviously unrelentingly grim. Yeah. And it's Philip Martin who did Vengeance on Varos, which would have probably been on here. But I thought, I think people know that I like Vengeance on Varos anyway, so let's go for something else. And because it's kind of in the middle of it, you've got Vervoids afterwards, which I think had a bit of a resurgence because it's Bonnie and it's a bit daft and it's very camp and you know, Honor Blackman's in it and the Vervoids look like big cocks and all that sort of stuff, and that's all fun. But I just think Mind Warp, it's a complete story. Yeah. The only problem I have with it is that it does take Colin back to he's
a bit of an arsehole.
A baddie.
Yeah.
And he's siding with the baddies again.
Yeah, yeah.
But I guess if you have it in isolation and you don't think of it in relation to what had come before.
Yeah.
But for Perry to have died in that way.
Well, yeah.
And that when she sits up on that
gurney,
so
good.
It is a proper it's a proper your heart drops sort of moment. You know, it's really unfortunate that it's undone by that green. You know, the pink heart.
Yeah,
that's disappointing.
Yeah,
which is a bit of like a classic series version of Face the Raven, Heaven Sent.
Yes, it really is.
Hellbent. It's like, you know, there was no need to ruin it.
It's a shame, really, because that is the ballsiest story out of that season, really, because Mysterious Planet is pretty much
run of the mill.
Run of the mill. As is Vervoids.
It's a setup.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and then, you get to Mind Warp.
Yeah, and Mind Warp tries to do something different. I mean, much in the same way that Philip Martin did with Vengeance on Varos. Indeed. He wanted to do something that hadn't been done before.
Visually, I think as well, the production design for that story is fantastic.
It's really good, yeah.
The sets are cool, the lighting is brilliant.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the wolf monster.
Yeah.
That is horrible.
It's really scary. I never liked that as a kid.
It is like a proper scary Doctor Who monster.
Yeah.
But again, I think if it had been done with Perry's death in mind for the rest of the series, that could have spurred the Sixth Doctor on to, you know, him conquering the Valiard in the last 2 episodes. But unfortunately, it doesn't quite link up, and you've got Vervoids in between.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame, really, that those stories don't intertwine more. You know, like you said, maybe if the Valiard had, like, you know, if it was his influence that kind of swayed things to go that way.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, perhaps Perry wouldn't have died, and you know, and it would have just given a bit more weight to their confrontation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to us doing Trial of the Time Lord here.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the other day as well, like Key to Time.
Yeah.
That'll be
a big one.
Considering one of them is a 6-parter as well.
Oh God, I hate the Armageddon Factor.
Yeah.
I really hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've never really watched it. My brain
that is that whole period of Tom Baker for me. I'm like, I have seen it, and I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
go. Yeah.
No.
You know, usually my mind is a sponge for Doctor Who stuff.
Yeah. Especially with a big gurning Liverpudlian with curly hair and a long scarf. But
not that stuff.
No.
Yeah.
It's
all I really remember from the Armageddon Factor is that annoying clock that's got that awful bit of like MDF cut around it, and it's like someone just hacked at it, and it just looks
all like
shit.
fucked around the edges.
Yeah, and you just think, oh God, you couldn't have got someone to sand it down. I will go back in time and sand down the edges.
That would be your job on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You could have any job on Doctor Who. I could be the Doctor, I could be a companion, but no, I just want to sand down the edges of that clock in the Armageddon.
So it looks less shit.
And then the Power of Kroll.
Yeah.
Stones of Blood's all right.
I like Stones of Blood. Actually, I mean, I like Power of Kroll.
Yeah. Reboss Operation.
See, I've never really been a big fan of the Reboss Operation. I know people love it. I know everyone obviously goes on about the Binro was right scene for obvious reasons. But as a story, it's never really gelled with me.
No.
And I like Android Zatara. That's good fun.
I think it's having that new K9 voice. It immediately kind of makes me feel like it's not Doctor Who. Who plays?
This John Leeson.
Is it John Leeson?
It's John Leeson.
When does that other guy appear?
He's in the following season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, it all blurs.
It all blurs into one. Wow.
I don't know where I am with it. Go on then. Let's see a second one.
Talking of Tom, Planet of Evil.
Yes.
I really like the Planet of Evil. It was never a story that really gelled with me as a child. Probably because I'd seen the clips of the Anti-Man on Tom Baker years, and he was friggin' scary, and I was like, well, I'm not here for this. But I think when you watch, I mean, obviously everyone talks about Planet of Evil because of the amazing set design for the jungle set, and obviously it is absolutely incredible. But it's actually
Elstree, wasn't it, or was it?
Yeah, I don't know, some Roger Murray Leach affair, which just looks superb.
Amazing.
But as a story, I think there's a lot going for it. There's a lot of sort of very fantastical sci-fi concepts of all this antimatter stuff, and you know, this other world that the Doctor like travels through, and is really well directed. You know, all that stuff when he's falling through the hole and stuff is really out there. It's kind of like you know, with all the mad colours and stuff, it's kind of like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory when Gene Wilder's doing that stuff. It's great, and then of course the Anti-Man himself looks friggin' horrible.
Yeah.
And you know, the effect with the antimatter monster is really good.
Yeah.
I think it's just a really
the
solid.
The spaceship always struck me as like a really impressive bit of set design.
And I think the thing is, and it's the same with Mind Warp actually. I think this is probably why I didn't quite like it as a kid. It's very dark, like very darkly lit, which is unusual for Doctor Who, as we know. We talked about what was it? Frontiers the other day, and I said it was too bright. You know, this is one of those instances where it's actually lit very well and it's very creepy. Like there's some scenes where you see the Anti-Man like over the body of the guy in the darkened corridor, and you can't quite see him, and he scurries off, and then you've got these husks of the crew members. It's such a good story.
It is. By the way, I think it's Ealing Studios. I think people have already probably put comments down. You can edit them now and say, "Oh, don't worry, I've heard the rest of the podcast." I think with that period of Doctor Who, Tom and Sarah, or Tom and Liz, it's all so good.
Yeah.
That is the one episode I think that does sort of like fall out of the main line of thinking for that run.
This is what I was thinking, because I love season 13, and I think the same with, I mean, I could have put the Android Invasion on here, because I love the Android Invasion.
Because, I mean, it's 6 episodes, isn't it?
No, it's only 4.
Oh, fuck. It feels like 6 to me.
And, you know, Android Invasion isn't particularly sophisticated or anything, but it's a good bit of sci-fi yarn, you know, with all the duplicates and all that stuff. And as a kid, I loved it.
Yeah.
But I think the problem with both that and with Planet of Evil is that they're wedged between two absolutely fantastic stories.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Terror of the Zygons, then Planet of Evil, then Pyramids of Mars, and then you've got Android Invasion, then you've got Seeds of Doom.
Yeah.
So you're covered by these two towering good stories.
Which we've already covered.
Yes.
Timey-wimey with wibbly-wobbliness. Yeah, great pick, Planet of Evil. I think that probably came up on quite a few people's...
I saw Chris Chapman say it, and I thought, good on you, Chris.
My pick, something we've reviewed in the podcast setup, Silver Nemesis.
Right, yeah.
Because I know it is, you know, if you want to see gifs of Silver Nemesis, invariably it involves a certain scene in a limousine.
Yeah.
Or,
it surely do,
honey. Or, you know, it's that snippet of, this is meaningless.
Yeah.
But it's good fare. It's good fun. And I just think it's perfectly situated in that season.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not an anniversary story.
No.
But it's got the Cybermen in it, so it's a bit of an anniversary story. We only really get the key of what I think the writer whose name escapes, something Clark, is it? I can't remember.
Is it Kevin Clark?
Kevin Clark. The nub of his sort of like pitch to JNT, which was, who is the Doctor? We only really get that in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think everything before that is really good fun.
Yeah.
And it is a runaround, it is daft, but so much of it is shot on location, so you get a real sense of sort of scale out of it, which I think is really nice.
Good fight sequences.
Great action sequences.
Yeah.
It's remembrance of the Daleks for that era, for the Cybermen.
Yeah.
And I think that it's good fun, but I again, a bit like Remembrance. Remembrance is quite a, you know, it's a monolithic story in Doctor Who history because people hold it up to such a high degree.
Yeah.
And I think people maybe go into Silver Nemesis expecting the same from it. But if you don't go into it expecting the sort of lofty, you know, this is me saying, like, it's not as good as Remembrance of the Daleks, but there's a lot to enjoy in it if you just go in for it for a romp.
Yeah.
And I think it sits apart from a lot of, especially the early Sylv, in being of a high quality, but still maintaining a bit of that sort of jovial season 24. Hey, we're just having a rip-roaring time around the universe, and we've got no money, but we make the best of it.
Yeah.
But it has that, but then it has the action sequences, and it has the Cybermen in it for the last time in the classic series.
I mean, I think when we reviewed it here, I sort of was a bit gentler on it than I otherwise have been in the past. And actually, I rewatched it, with my nephews. And I think they enjoyed it, but I still enjoyed it. I thought, you know what, if you just don't take it too seriously and just let it wash over you, it is good fun.
But the Doctor is a character in the story.
Yeah.
But isn't sort of like, with most Doctor Who stories, like the focus of the episode.
Yeah.
Because you've got Lady Painfort and Richard sort of wandering around modern day London or modern day Windsor, and that within itself is fun.
Yeah.
The Doctor's sort of a passenger along for this foretold, moment, this moment in time, and like the Nemesis statue and what Lady Painfort has come back for, what the Nazis are there for, what the Cybermen are there for, is the important part of the story. Silver Nemesis is the core of the story, and the Doctor is just sort of part of this cosmic ballet, and so it's fun
nice,
for that
isn't
reason.
it? Yeah, but you have a Doctor Who story that isn't really led necessarily by the Doctor.
Yeah.
Like, he's just...
But he's very much still... And that's down to Sylvester.
Yeah.
And that's down to, I guess, what they're leaning into with what's to come in season 26.
Yeah.
With this arch manipulator. And I think this is the first indication... It's quite a good segue, actually, from season 24 Sylv into the dark-coated, manipulator. And I think, it's quite a nice sort of like ease into that era of the show, while still being fun and having the Cybermen and having great set pieces.
Yeah.
Silver Nemesis is definitely an underrated one for me, for sure.
Very good.
Let's hear so this is your third pick, I think?
Yes, my third pick is The Mutants.
Ah, okay.
Which is... possibly by the time this goes out, on Blu-ray.
It is almost certain. Well, I mean, provided it doesn't get delayed again and again and again, it is out on Blu-ray.
Yeah. I think people dislike this one because it's got some dodgy effects in it and is 6 episodes. And when it comes to 6-episode John Pertwee's, sometimes you do think, oh boy, this is going to be a slog. And I think with this story, yes, sometimes it can be, but I love the concepts of it. And I think when you get a story like Full Circle, which does very much the same sort of thing, in terms of the cyclical nature of, these aliens that, they're turning into these other things that they hate, and actually, no, they're just you, this is just part of your evolution. That is all very, very clever. Yeah. And then, of course, you've got the allegory for colonialism and apartheid and all that sort of stuff. It's really great, and, it's... And
it's the Bristol Boys?
It's the Bristol Boys coming out with some really good stuff. And I think...
Visually, I think it looks fantastic.
I was going to say, the spaceship looks cool.
The film sequences are brilliant.
I mean, the sequence right at the start of the story, in the mist, when you see the old man and he turns around and he's got all this stuff.
The spine. Yeah. It's horrible.
It's really horrible.
Proper body horror.
Yeah, and it's stuck with me for years as a kid.
And but that's an episode where you can only really do it when you can rely on your special effects team. Yeah. And okay, for the money, they're actually going to be able to pull this off. And obviously, Bob Baker and Dave Martin would have known the limitations by that point. Yeah. And so they're not necessarily writing to that. Yeah. But they know we can probably get away with this. Yeah. And having that sort of evolutionary bits and bob thing.
Because that's an easy thing to do, because you can disguise it with actual clothing, costume, and so it works well. And I mean, to be honest, I think the mutts themselves are fantastic. They're one of Doctor Who's better monsters, for sure.
I mean, the fact they get reused.
Well, yeah, precisely. Yeah. So I've just a good story that I think people need to come back to and
good fare.
It is a good fare. Yeah. I mean, if you just ignore the dodgy bit of CSO when they go out the spaceship.
But that's part of the course for that period.
And that's it, and obviously when the guy evolves into his Super Saiyan bloody multicoloured Technicolor Dreamcoat version of himself. Yeah, I think there's I just think if you can see past the sticky tape that's holding it together, I think at the root of it, there's a really good story there.
I think that's the thing, though, but that's the thing for the whole of the Pertwee era, that, you know, in no other era does the CSO look so bad.
Yeah.
Because it's a new technology, and that is a massive barrier for entry for a lot of people, because it is so, not overused, but it is used a lot.
Yeah.
And the fact it's 6 parts.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, the temptation for Doctor Who, especially if you're enjoying it, is to just sit there and keep watching it. But I have certainly learned doing this that is not the way to do it. Like, you know, you would have already seen it, so this is very timey-wimey, but we've got the Pyramids of Mars review, which we're shooting tomorrow. Yeah. And I've watched 2 episodes of that, and I'm doing 2 tomorrow. And it's because I know I'm going to enjoy it far more. That's only a 4-parter. Yeah. So, you know, do you know, 2 episodes one day, 2 episodes the next day, and 2 the next. Yeah. And, you know, you can get through a 6-parter and actually really enjoy it.
And I think that's certainly the case with, like, say, if I was to watch Ambassadors of Death, I would have to do it. You know, you couldn't sit down and watch all 7 parts.
Totally.
Saying that, though, I watched all 6 episodes of Challenge of Wang Chiang in one sitting, and I bloody loved it.
I mean, that is like catnip to you, though, isn't it? Yeah. You're sat there just going, yes, please, yes, more. Why isn't it 8 parts long? Okay. Another episode we haven't actually reviewed in the podcast setting, but I know that, you know, we've done fairly recently in the grand scheme of the world. The Christmas Invasion.
The Christmas Invasion?
Because it never comes up on any lists of people going, you know, because I think it's a Christmas special, and because it's the first one. Yeah. And the Christmas specials, especially in the RTD era, are sort of like literally tinsel for the rest of the series as a whole. And it's a stopgap between, you know, whatever, you know, great big story arc they've had before, and maybe we're going to get a tease of what's going to come next. You know, but it exists in a bubble universe outside of the main series. But for Doctor Who's first ever genuinely Christmas-themed episode, it gets everything right. Yeah. When you come to doing or watching The Runaway Bride, which we did just last Christmas, it's like a diminishing returns version of the Christmas Invasion, because that did it so well. Yeah. And I guess it's kind of useful for Russell that you have an episode where the Doctor has to be out of action for the whole thing, so you know you're going to get the moment at the end of the story where he's going to do his big entrance. Going to appear, and then you've got the costume change at the end, and then hey, you know, we're going to go off in space and time and have great adventures. Yeah. But every fan film that I've ever watched where there is a new Doctor is doing the Christmas Invasion. It's doing the Doctor being knocked out in bed and occasionally being heroic, and then, you know, falling asleep again just when you need them the most. Yeah. And then it being more of a case of the companions having to save the day, or people around the Doctor having to sort of, like, you know, make the best of it. But, you know, when that Christmas tree started revolving, you went, oh, Doctor Who at Christmas works. Yeah. And I don't think it's ever done that well again. I don't think Christmas is ever represented like a modern in inverted commas, English in inverted commas, Christmas is never represented that well again in Doctor Who.
I think Christmas Invasion really does shoot its Christmas load in that one story.
Totally.
Probably because they thought, well, this could be the only time we get to do a Christmas special.
Exactly.
So, you know, let's go balls to the wall and, you know. And then, like you said, with Runaway Bride, obviously it takes elements of that, but they don't quite land in the same way.
No. You know, like you have you think, okay, so Robot Santa would be the next thing. Yeah. But that's part of the story as a whole. But then the story as a whole revolves around the Christmas star and the night sky. Yeah. And then the next time they come around to do a Christmas special that feels Christmassy, they do a Christmas Carol. Yeah. You know, and it's like, but everybody knows that, you know, it's not totally original. Yeah. It's done in a Doctor Who-y way. Yeah. But I don't think that Christmas is done as well in Doctor Who as it is here. Yeah, because I think, you know, if you look at The Runaway Bride, you know, you see the stuff with, like, the floating baubles and stuff. And it's like, right, well, it's not quite as... I can't quite believe that as much as I can believe the Christmas tree. No, it's not as iconic either, like, imagery-wise.
You know, yeah, and I mean, it's... Like, when we rewatched it the other day, The Runaway Bride, you know, I'd sort of forgotten that happened. Yeah. And I was like, oh, but you always remember the Christmas tree and Jackie Tyler saying, I'm going to get killed by a Christmas tree.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, it's interesting that. And like you said, I think subsequently, because what's that? Then you've got the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
And then Last Christmas, The Return of Doctor Mysterio. Which is
Time of the Doctor.
It's set at Christmas.
You know, it's set in Christmas Town.
Yeah.
Fine.
That feels like an anvil around the writer's
doesn't it?
necks.
Yeah.
After Christmas Invasion, it's like, okay, so we have to do a Christmas story, but we're not going to do it as well as Christmas Invasion.
Yeah. Did you see that Chris Chibnall said that Spyfall
was supposed to be
Christmas Day? I mean, obviously, it's not written as a Christmas special.
No. But I think it's okay to have broken that tradition.
Yeah.
Especially if you feel like you're shoehorning it.
Yeah.
Which it does feel that way basically from The Runaway Bride onwards.
Yeah.
It does feel like Christmas is shoehorned into it because it just has to be a Christmas special.
Yeah, because Voyage of the Damned, I forgot, that's Christmas, isn't it?
But that is like, Christmas is the window dressing for it.
Yeah.
There's a story beyond that.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't need to be set at Christmas.
Voyage of the Damned is fine.
Yeah.
But that is a what is it, 60-minute special.
Yeah.
On Christmas Day. So of course, in the main set pieces, it's gold, Vaseline smeared, there's Christmas trees in the background, there's Christmas music playing, but it's not central to the story.
No.
But I think because we've had so many Christmas specials since, maybe the idea in most people's heads is that Christmas as a Doctor Who story is built on and made better as they go through. But I don't think it is. And so I think that Christmas Invasion, and also because it's David's first story, but also immediately you would think of New Earth as David's first story.
Yeah.
This one just sort of feels like it flies under the radar a little bit and gets lost in the mix. But I think if you showed anyone the Christmas Invasion who's sort of my age or your age, it would, like it did for us.
Yeah, when we watched it. Yeah.
Immediately spin
all those memories came back.
It was like
you
could smell Christmas dinner.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
You could feel the warmth of oh, we can put the heating on because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
You could feel it, the Christmas idents and the adverts and whatever other shit was on that year.
Yeah.
That's the only thing for me that really stirs that kind of Christmas thing up.
It's funny actually because we rewatched The Vicar of Dibley recently.
Did we?
And because Annie had never seen it, and she loved it. And obviously, it's one of those weird programs where you sort of think it was like on for ages, but it wasn't. It was on sort of in bits and bobs every couple of years, a Christmas special here or a few specials throughout the year. And it was interesting watching some of the later ones and going, right, this is 2000 and whatever. Oh, yeah, this is the same time as this Christmas special of Doctor Who was on. And sort of, I can remember like being there and watching Doctor Who and then going, right, Doctor Who's finished, then you've got an hour to kill, Vicar of Dibley's going to be on.
How many Vicar of Dibleys did they do while the Doctor Who Christmas specials were happening?
I think they must have done a couple.
Really?
I think
it can't have been more than like 3, could it? Or
I don't think it was more than that. I think it might have been that there was a few on over the Christmas period.
Right.
One was on Christmas Day.
Right.
You might have had one on Boxing Day and then one on New Year's Eve or something like that. But it was funny. It was like the whole thing of like, wow, that was Christmas Day, or at least in the evening, Christmas evening. We'd had Christmas dinner and all the presents had been done. We're stuffed.
Yeah.
Right, now we just sit on the telly. Mum falls asleep in the corner because she's knackered.
But that's the thing, like for me, when the Doctor Who Christmas specials became a thing, it was just, all right, 6:20. But that's the only important thing that's happening today.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
then I can give or take whatever happens on the telly before and after.
Oh yeah.
So I don't really have any memories beyond just the Christmas specials.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that also recaptures the same feeling for you.
I mean, it was really only certain big comedy specials.
Yeah.
When I think of Christmas Day, it's really outside of the normal Christmas fare in terms of telly. It's Doctor Who, Vicar of Dibley, the Royal Family Christmas specials.
Ant and Dec probably would have done something.
I mean, I never really watched ITV. I used to really watch BBC. Royal Family, Vicar of Dibley. Only Fools and Horses, when they used to do Christmas specials.
I think I probably missed the Only Fools. I'm probably slightly too young to have Watch The Only Fools.
You wee babby.
Yeah, I am. I'm only titchy.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's all those good memories. And it was weird this Christmas. Like, we had Christmas dinner and we were like, feels like there should be something
but Christmas
on.
telly's been rubbish for
It's been shit.
basically since Doctor Who started doing, New Year specials. Christmas Day, there's no reason to, you call the midwife Christmas special. It's like, let me guess, another baby's going to be born.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, in very stressful circumstances under the night sky.
Yeah.
And it'll be very biblical.
Yeah.
Probably to, make the over 65 that BBC One exclusively caters for these days happy.
Yeah. Thank God we've got Russell coming back and saying, here's a Christmas special, hopefully on Christmas Day. I think he's not been non-committal, has he?
Here's Saturday Night TV.
Yeah.
Here you go, on a plate.
Yeah.
It's been here the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't, but, I'm back to save it, basically. I'm here to save the British Broadcasting Corporation with the help of the
he hasn't got a knighthood, has he, Russell?
I think it feels like he should, but I feel like...
Maybe he's turned it down.
He would say no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rightly so.
Yeah.
I think I would make it very public that I had been offered one, but I would make it very public that I had also turned it down at the same time.
Turn it down, mate. Yeah. Spat in their face.
Shove that sword up your ass.
And it'd be him doing it as well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Charlie.
Oh, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think William does them mainly now.
Does he?
I feel like you only see his bald spot.
I was just about to make a remark and I thought, was that a low blow?
No, not with the royal family. You can take the piss out of them all you like because they're up there.
Prince of Pegging.
Go on. Right, come on.
My next story, we'll do another new series one.
Go on.
Flatline.
Thank God, because that's the other one that I've got written down. That is number 5 for me.
Everyone talks about series 8 for good or for worse, for better or for worse. That story was the one moment where I was like, I think I can really see Peter Capaldi's Doctor.
Yeah.
And it's later in the series. I mean, I was all set to really love his Doctor.
Yeah.
And I really did struggle for those early episodes. Like,
that would be really interesting to talk about because I remember us both being like, okay, we're on track now. Yeah. This is a Doctor Who that looks like Doctor Who because he's over 50.
Yes.
And he's got... a jacket, a waistcoat, and a shirt.
Yeah.
And he's somebody who's...
Holy Trinity.
He's clearly...
Doctor Who costumes.
He's got a ring. He does this with his lapels.
Yeah.
He's clearly a fan.
Yeah.
But the disappointment of those early weeks and going, oh, okay. It's, like 20% of this I'm totally on board with, but the rest of it just feels like anybody could be playing this part or anybody could do this episode. Yeah. But it is Flatline.
Yeah.
And
he's not really in it much.
Which he isn't in, he's not in it much.
But when he is in it, he's very good.
Yeah.
When he does that whole thing about, I tried to reason with you, I tried to bargain with you and, tried to come to some sort of agreement. But you've made your point that you're not going to listen, so I have to be the man who stops the monsters. I mean, I think it's because... But
he's not hindered in that story by, am I a good man?
No, he hasn't got any of that stuff.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, you're Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You do whatever you need to do in the moment, mate.
Yeah.
Don't worry about whether or not that was, rightfully the right thing to do. Yeah. Should you have pushed that, clockwork bloke? Yeah. Or whatever. Like... Some people are irredeemable. Yeah. Sometimes you have to commit mass genocide.
That's it.
These are the problems that we face in everyday life.
Do you think Tom Baker thought after the Seeds of Doom, I shouldn't have twisted Boyce's neck like that?
No, but Sarah would have gone, get over yourself, shut up. But,
Maybe I shouldn't have let Harrison Chase get mulched.
But it did look fucking interesting, though. Yeah. I didn't know people looked like that on the inside. Flatline for me was definitely the same sort of thing where you just go like, I see what you're doing. And because it's set on modern day Earth and it's set in Bristol, that's really nice.
Not shot in Bristol. How sad that it took so long for them to actually film
an episode in Bristol. So how many have we got? Flatline?
Yeah.
Bit of the pilot. All the stuff in the university, in Bill's university.
Yeah, that's all set in Bristol, isn't it? Yeah.
Revolution of the Daleks. That's all on the suspension bridge.
Oh yeah, and Eve of the Daleks. Oh no, that's not set in Bristol.
That's supposed to be Manchester, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Any other? I think that's it, isn't it? there's the only 3 episodes set in Bristol.
Yeah, maybe.
We know that Night Terrors was shot in Bristol, Snowmen was shot in Bristol, lots of stuff's been shot in Bristol.
Yeah.
It seems like most of bloody season 14 has been shot in Bristol. But those are the only ones I can think of that are set in the West
Bristol.
Country. Yeah.
I still think it's mad they haven't done anything with pirates, considering that Bristol has got a pirate heritage.
Yeah, we've had no Blackbeard episodes.
Yeah,
and
that was something that I had planned for a action figure adventure.
Oh, and he frequented the Land Dogger, which
exactly.
is literally a couple of...
It was in the story.
Streets away from us.
Story. You want a big finish if you want to jump at we and Blackbeard.
And also, it's an episode where, much like the classic series, where you have a monster and the design sort of dictates the way it's shot, and it dictates the threat of the episode is the way this monster moves or is. It's CG, which for me, as a Doctor Who, purist,
we prefer our monsters to be rubber.
Made of latex.
Yeah.
That might be a kink. I still have to work that out in my own head. But...
Here our cellar is...
it's coming out.
Is a Vogan.
You never know.
Vogan mask. Put this on.
But the CG adds to the...
it's part of the effect. Yeah, it certainly does.
And the idea of, street art being, that's something that you feel like should have been done before.
Yeah.
I just think that sequence where the police officer is pulled into the floor is like one of those moments you think, well, that makes it into like a Doctor Who compilation of scary moments set to music.
Yeah.
And they're called the Boneless, aren't they?
The Boneless, yeah.
Shuddering their way down.
Yeah, they're great.
Bristol doesn't have a fucking underground train system, by the way, but I can only assume that takes place in the space between Clifton Down and Sea Mills, that little tunnel that goes under the gorge. But yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah,
and Capaldi's great.
Capaldi's great. The stuff with the shrinking TARDIS. That's good fun.
That's a character options TARDIS, isn't it?
No,
it looks like
it looks like it should be.
Yeah.
But no, it isn't.
Disappointing.
Apparently they could have done.
They should have.
They should have just used a toy, shouldn't they? Really?
Yeah.
It would have been cheaper.
That would have been a great little addition to the action figure range. It's like the character options TARDIS with an old man's hand coming out the front.
Oh my God, can you imagine? I love it. And I kind of surprised that they never came back, the Boneless, because I think you could do other stuff. I always had an idea in my mind. It's like, right, if I did a story with the Boneless, it would be set in like an art gallery or something.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What? I mean, I guess they sort of did the Doctor with stuff coming out of the paintings,
but it's not done to the same degree.
Yeah,
is it?
and I think
it could be Night at the Museum, but with Yeah.
paintings and
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Is that it, or have you got another one?
I've got one more. My other one is the Ark.
Whoa! I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love the Ark. I think that's a great. The whole thing about we've killed off a whole civilization with a common cold.
It's a great idea, but I think the monoids are a barrier for entry.
I think this is the problem. I think people just get bogged down by the monoids.
Yeah.
But I mean that cliffhanger.
Yeah.
When they go back and it's the monoid statue, that is great. That is good. So good.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's full of ridiculously. Like, take them to the security kitchen.
Yeah, sure.
And like, oh, you, no. It's just the best.
But it's at a point where Doctor Who isn't being played for that kind of laugh.
Yeah.
Which I guess is kind of bold of them.
Yeah.
But I don't think that you watch it, having been I went to the BFI screening of the Sea Devils.
Yeah.
And when you're in a room full of people watching Doctor Who, you suddenly realise it stinks. But also you go, this is a lot funnier than most people would give it credit for.
Yeah.
If you're watching it on your own or watching it with family or whatever. Or a disinterested spouse, as is the case with most of us. So when you watch something and it's Doctor Who but being intentionally funny, I think there is a bit of a disconnect because you think, well, no, you're supposed to be dead serious about all of this, but the monoids are daft.
Yeah, and there's no two ways about it.
No, that's it. That's it.
They are
is
dopey,
the be all and end all.
Yeah.
But the idea of coming back into a situation that you visited before.
Yeah.
It hadn't really been done to that degree. You had warnings of what messing with time could do.
Yeah.
But it's an inadvertent sort of thing. Like, this is just haphazard time travel.
Yeah.
Like, it's an accident.
Yeah.
But it is done very well in that story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
when you
good.
come back to it.
It's good fun. And I think it was probably one of the earlier Hartnells that I'd seen.
It's 4 parts.
It's 4 parts. Yeah, it's easily digestible. It's not like, oh God, a 7-part slog like, you know, the Daleks or...
Like most of them feel.
Yeah. Or the Web Planet, fucking hell.
If you keep saying that, I will just add it to the list sooner and sooner.
I mean, we watched the Space Museum over the course. Oh, God.
You have to tell me when you're watching stuff so that I can say what we have to waste at least 12 months for you to have to watch it again.
But, oh, God. That's a story and a half.
Shit, it will happen. That will happen.
That is not an underrated story. That is poo.
That is rubbish. That is rubbish. I was thinking the Ark does feel like an episode that could be on most people's underrated lists. Because it's a Hartnell that's 4 parts. As we've said, it kind of deals with, you know, quite a modern idea of, well, it feels like a modern idea of time travel and the effects that time travel can have.
Yeah.
Barbara is warned about her actions in the Aztecs, but this is the first time you actually see those effects take place in Doctor Who.
I think it is, you know, other than the time meddler, you know, which isn't, you don't really see an awful lot. You know, you know what his schemes are, and you know they talk about, you know, why you shouldn't do it. But I think you're right. I think this probably is the first time that we've seen. Oh shit, our actions have had a serious impact. And then of course you've got the whole stuff with the invisible people on the planet, whatever it's called. Yeah. But it's good fun.
Well, let's see if the Ark comes up on anybody's list.
Yeah, please, let's do it.
We asked you folks what you thought were the most underappreciated episodes of Doctor Who. And we had a load of suggestions. I mean, across 2 different posts, this one alone has like 133 comments.
Wow.
So let's have a look. So,
Gold.
Who Hats, Delta and the Bannermen.
Do you know, I was thinking about Delta and the Bannermen, and I don't necessarily think it's an underrated story.
No.
I think it is rated probably at the level that it should be rated, but it's good. I like it, but you know, I don't think it's marvelous like, you know, some.
No.
I think it's great. I think it's a. Well, maybe I do think it's underrated.
Go back and watch our Delta and the Bannermen review. I'm not in it, which most people would be pleased with probably, but it's my favourite episode that I'm not in. It's probably my favourite episode of the podcast. I love that one. That's good. Ben says The Crimson Horror. I just find it a lot of fun to watch. I think Diana Rigg is fantastic.
Yeah.
The Awakening and Black Orchid, I think, is also great.
Black Orchid, I love Black Orchid.
Yeah.
Black Orchid. I always thought about Black Orchid and maybe even The Visitation. I don't think The Visitation gets enough credit.
No, true.
I like The Visitation a lot. And
Yeah.
the Pteroleptils, they should have come back.
Great monsters.
Really good.
Impressive visuals for the time.
Very
the face.
good.
And also, again, another one of those classic Doctor Who things of the Doctor who is responsible for something in time.
Yeah.
You know, like the asteroid that causes the wiping out of the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
The fire at Pudding Lane.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. Yeah, really, really good stuff.
And, if you're listening, we need Pteroleptil.
We do
dollies.
need Pteroleptils. I mean, maybe the Fugitive Doctor first, and then the Pteroleptils.
Nah, Pteroleptils, please.
Yeah, Pteroleptils. Chris Chapman, Planet of Evil, as you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely one that pops up. The God Complex, says Daniela.
Yeah.
This episode isn't talked about enough. This should have been Amy and Rory's departure. I know you aren't too keen on Moffat, but this one is fantastic at showing the consequences of travelling with the Doctor, and Rita is the best companion we never got.
I like her, yeah, I totally agree.
I like the score for the God Complex because it kind of incorporates some elements. There's one track in particular, I can't remember what it's called, but it sounds like a Keth.
Oh, really?
Airs sort of Sylvester-y score.
Yeah. I do like that story. Well, I mean, from what I remember, I enjoy that story. It's one of the better ones of that series, anyway.
Yes. Jack from the Awful Lot of Running podcast says, Kill the Moon.
Kill the Moon.
The Timey-Wimey Zone, the Series 8 finale, this Deep Water, Dark Water.
Yeah.
What's the other one called?
Heavens, no.
No, not Heaven.
Death in Heaven.
Death in Heaven.
He likes heaven.
He does.
Yeah.
Cyberbrig.
Fuck that shit.
Permission to squee.
Oh.
And there you go.
But that sequence of Peter Capaldi falling out of the aeroplane and then into the TARDIS, that's amazing.
As President of Earth.
Oh, all that, for God.
There we go, he's ruined it immediately.
It was like my erection has just gone flaccid.
Jax L_L Jones says, the moon base.
Yeah. Sorry, my brain just had a brain fart there.
It's just full of hatred.
Yeah, sorry.
Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Yes, another. I love Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Scuppered by the effects.
This is it. Everyone sees the dinosaurs and says it's shit,
Yeah.
but actually it's a really good story.
That first episode.
It's great.
And Operation Golden Dawn.
Yeah.
That whole thing. Peter Miles is in it. That's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Yates being a shitbag.
Yeah, it's really
good.
clever.
There is some good stuff in there.
It's a great story.
And also like that scene where the Doctor and the looter, they're like locked up together in that like whatever it is, like a council run, community venue.
Yeah.
And them convincing they have to break each other out. That's a lovely moment as well.
That's really good.
I think that's probably John and Elizabeth's best story together, I think, that one.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And I mean, all that whole thing with her being on the spaceship and that cliffhanger. You're like, whoa,
that's great.
This story has taken a real turn. Great stuff. It is basically just doing the enemy of the world again, isn't it? Now that I think of it.
But I think...
Same writer, isn't it? Aren't they both
Malcolm Hulke. Yeah. But I think that the dinosaurs give it that...
Yeah.
It's like he's realised what Doctor Who on the poster should be.
Yeah.
You can still have all that subtext underneath and all that commentary there anyway.
Yeah.
But you sell it with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
First and foremost. Or sell it with a monster or something,
Yeah.
Kerclack. Yeah, exactly. At Doctor Who Home 1 says, twice upon a time.
That fucking... I won't say anymore.
Yeah. Flat Cat Hoovian, I never hear anybody talking about horror Fang Rock.
It's superb.
It is great. I think that's another kind of purist, classic Who fan favourite.
Yeah.
But I think of people who maybe didn't grow up with the VHSs or reruns on UK Gold, or indeed when it first went out, and the kind of the legend of that story, it probably isn't up there for them.
I think my nephew enjoyed it. I think Emilio quite liked it.
Yeah.
They certainly loved the bit where Leela slapped that woman around the face. Whenever there's a bit that they like that makes them laugh, they're like, "Oh, rewind it and we'll watch it." And I think we did rewind her getting slapped around the face.
You've got to be careful how much of that they see and think is normal. Matthew Purchase says The Savages, a brilliant story. When I did a marathon of episodes a decade ago, 2 missing stories stood out. Those were The Enemy of the World and The Savages. And of course, we know The Enemy of the World.
It's bloody good.
I don't think you can really call it underrated anymore.
No.
Maybe people who championed it before it came back have been vindicated in that feeling.
Yeah.
But I agree. I went through a couple, because there's nothing else to do in lockdown besides cry and eat and drink. So I watched quite a few missing episodes. I watched the Celestial Toymaker.
Yeah.
And thought, this is not very good.
Yeah, agree.
And we should probably do that this year.
Yeah. It does make sense, actually.
And The Savages.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I watched it straight after watching Celestial Toymaker, but I went, fucking hell, this is so good.
It's a good story. I need to
Really
rewatch
good.
it, actually, because I can't really remember it that well. I remember enjoying it, but I can't... Yeah. I just
Remember it that thickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it's because I've only seen it once. So it hasn't quite cemented itself in my brain.
Herald of Creation says Terminus.
Yeah, I like Terminus.
I like the cliffhanger we're on a laser ship.
Yeah.
The Garm is quite cool.
Yeah.
And I
like their armour. They look cool.
The Big Bang thing.
Yeah.
With the husk of the pilot sat in the chair and realising what it is that they're part of. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And also Knickers. Yeah. The Beast Below, also they say. Nightmare in Silver.
Oh, fuck off a shit!
And Eaters of Shite.
When we watched the Doctor's Wife for the next episode, And
that,
or the previous
last
episode
that you watched.
whatever episode, yeah. And Annie said, she's like, "Have you guys done Nightmare in Silver?" And I was like, "Oh God,
no. I mean, I'll add it to the list.
We can do, yeah." Because she said it was shit, and obviously it's Neil Gaiman. That's the.
I've been waiting for something to put in for episode 60, so I'm going to knock the moon base down, and I'm going to write the Celestial Toymaker.
Ooh.
I mean, because episode 60.
I haven't watched the recon that chap has done. He's only young.
I haven't seen that either.
I've seen the little clips that he'd done, but I think he's put the full thing out
I've
in
only
two
seen
parts.
the loose cannon one.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
it looks so
really
good. It looked insanely good. I mean, the BBC should have just been like, "Here, let us buy it off you and stick it on a DVD right now."
And here's some money to do some more.
Yes.
Ellie.
And he just did it in his bedroom.
Nuts. I mean, but that's where we all start. In our bedroom.
Yeah.
Ellie,
we all start in our parents' bedrooms, actually.
What the fuck have you been up to?
No, I mean...
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Ellie, TARDIS Monkey.
Unless you're my mother, because she was conceived on Troopers Hill.
God, fuck, no! On the mounds. God, grass stains. Ellie, TARDIS Monkey, kicks door down. The Awakening.
No, Ellie, come on.
You know better than that. Come on.
I still don't really understand it. I don't really know what's going on.
Big fucking...
Big face.
Big girt face comes out of the wall.
Girt face. You sound like the boy in that story. Oh, the girt face over there.
At EdDW98, Under the Lake Before the Flood.
Yeah,
One
that's
of my
good.
favourite from Capaldi's run.
Yeah.
It has a really cool atmosphere and a feel to it, as well as some nice, memorable side characters. An interesting mystery, and the ghosts are quite creepy. They are.
That is a good story.
One I'm not seeing here, which I'm annoyed I didn't add to my own list. Oxygen, from that same. The series after.
Yeah.
Oxygen, I really like. I think it does the kind of anti-capitalist thing better than Kablam, because it ultimately doesn't side with the capitalists, which is good. But I remember, Oxygen was, apart from the "I'm still blind."
Yeah, that's... Do you know, I was thinking earlier on, I don't know what made me think about this in Series 10, but Nardole, I always forget he happened. I think we've talked about this before, but I always forget that he's a thing. He's like the chameleon of the new series. I always forget Chameleon's a companion, because they stick him in the cupboard. And I always forget Nardole was part of Doctor Who.
Yeah. I forget Rory travelled in the TARDIS.
Yeah, I do as well, to be honest.
I mean, it's stick a secondary white male companion in the TARDIS and you go, who? Who's that? Who's that?
Yeah. Unless they're like someone like Ian, who's actually got some balls and actually does stuff.
Yeah, or has a character. Is
and actually has a character,
or does their own sort of thing, or is written well, Getaway Car 449 says, The Mind of Evil. Nobody ever talks about it, but I love it as a kid. Has some great action, true.
Yeah.
And some inventive moments.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Joe Visler says, A Town Called Mercy. Great story, great setting, great characters, great acting. Love seeing Eleven grapple with justifying murder off the back of killing Solomon in the previous story. I
think that's one we should do as well, because I can't really... I remember enjoying it when it came out, but I can't remember if I enjoyed it so much when I rewatched it, so...
It's on the list.
Oh dear, Annie's going to hate me. She's going to be like, why are we watching all these Matt Smith stories?
You can watch it when she's not in. Come on. Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Last couple, Harvey says Gridlock. It's such a brilliantly paced, tight script. Yeah, I mean, we watched that for a live show we did before. I think I watched Gridlock, and you watched another RTD story. I can't remember.
Did I watch Dalek?
Dalek.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, I don't quite get the religious allegory having. What's that church song that's played at the end? Abide With Me.
Abide With Me, yeah.
It feels like it comes a little bit out of left field.
Yeah.
But also, you can do that sense of community without having to have a churchy song, but I also understand that for the viewers watching, it is a kind of binding, uniting song as well. But it when you're not expecting it, it is sort of like, why are they all suddenly getting very Jesus-y about it? no story makes a stronger case for why Russell's world building is unmatched in terms of Who.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, I mean, we're returning to a space that we've been before, so it's not totally alien to us.
Yeah.
But it does build on
New
Earth.
Yeah.
It does build on it pretty well.
And you can find out more about New Earth in New Earth Adventures. Or
the box set from Big Finish that nobody bought. James K348 says the moon base always overlooked because of Tomb of the Cybermen, but honestly, I'd argue it's the better of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I love that story.
Very interesting. Somebody has just sent a GIF of Moaning Myrtle from Harry Potter in a paving slab.
Right.
About to get face something. And
paved.
Just about to get
sandblasted.
And Michael Herbert, the Mind Robber. Would you say that's underrated?
I don't think that's underrated, because I said it was overrated when we did our overrated.
You did.
Because I think everyone raves about the Mind Robber. And I think episode 1's brilliant.
Yeah.
And then I think for the rest of the 4 episodes is just, who are we going to bump into today? Oh, it's Gulliver. Oh, it's Rapunzel.
Oh, it's a superhero we've never heard of before.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
There we are. That should have been Doctor Who meets Batman. Adam West turns up. Greetings, citizens.
That would have been good fun. I can see that happening. Right, underrated episodes. There we go. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents. I'm just going to consult the list to see if we have any idea what's coming up next. No, now you're entering a bit of a grey period. However, I do believe it is quite possible that we are about to journey into the game of Rassilon and play the game of Rassilon, quite possibly, in the next fortnight. It kind of depends on a lot of different factors.
Right.
Partly also, what the hell has been happening over the last couple of weeks? I don't know. Is there a new Doctor Who costume? Do we have air dates or episode titles for the 60th anniversary? We don't know. Quite possibly. But we've bumped the 5 Doctors down from its position, which I think was the position that this episode's in now, or possibly even earlier. But the 5 Doctors has been on the list for a while, and I think that I feel like we need a big story to get our chops around. So we'll talk about the 5 Doctors next time.
Yeah. See you then. Goodbye.
Goodbye.